Being in the restaurant industry has not been easy over the past few years, and it has taken pivoting and catering to customers using innovative strategies for some to save their businesses. Many restaurateurs took their businesses online and attempted to double down on creating more efficient ordering systems. However, many are still stuck without easy to use technology to help them thrive. Nabeel Alamgir is an entrepreneur attempting to empower restaurants with his company Lunchbox, which enables restaurant owners to grow their own online revenue and have the chance to thrive in a tech driven world.
Nabeel is someone who knows how to work tirelessly and strategically to make an impact. He was born in Bangladesh and moved to Kuwait 7 years later, eventually ending up in Queens, New York. He started out as the first busboy at Bear Burger's flagship store in Astoria and immediately began gaining exposure to how restaurant customer interaction works and started creating marketing objectives while working for the CEO. This time at Bear Burger exposed specific pain points in the industry for Nabeel, especially when he attempted to build his own digital ordering system. Lunchbox is here to make it easier for restaurants to scale, and today he's going to share the story of how he and his team are working towards their mission. So, Nabeel, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so happy to have you on. I heard from your assistant that you are at Food on Demand, the conference this week. So, how is that going?
It's good. It's going great, except I have to look at Trump Tower right across from me. Besides that,
Oh,
it's going really well. It's an awesome event. We have restaurateurs from everywhere, a lot of our customers, a lot of our friends, and I get to meet my teammates at these conferences, which is really why I am here more than
mhm.
anything else. So it's going really well.
You've gone on a really interesting journey with Lunchbox, obviously, to get to where you are today. And obviously, even way before you started that. So, we're super excited to just have you share your story and also your company's mission with
Yeah.
all the listeners in the TFR community.
Yeah, I think my journey and Lunchbox journey is one, and so it's a simpler and a linear story to tell. Uh, I started this company 3 years ago, but I started in the food business 15 years ago. 15 years ago, I came to this country. I'm an immigrant. I'm coming from Kuwait, and I look like what I look like, and I come to St. Louis, Missouri, and St. Louis, Missouri is not St. Louis, Missouri sucks, right? So St. Louis, Missouri, like no one's unless you live there, you don't really say St. Louis, Missouri is great. Let's go there for the weekend. So that's where I went as an immigrant. And are you guys from St. Louis, Missouri? Anyone here? No? Okay. All right. So I can shit on it. St. Louis, Missouri sucks. And so I go there for the first 3 months and I'm like, wow, I hate it here. Like, please put me at end this misery. And then 3 months later, my parents somehow say, we're gonna go to Queens, New York. And I'm like, hallelujah. It was the best place for an immigrant to be. And I went to this public school right by the projects. I grew up in the projects. I went to a school by the projects, and the school had 3,000 people, and all of them were outsiders, and together all of us were outsiders and no one was an insider, and it was a great community to go ahead and grow up. I learned enough English watching mafia movies, Scorsese movies, violent movies. For some reason, use my hands a lot. Think I'm American Italian, I'm not. At 17, I learned enough English to get a job as a busboy at my teacher's brother's restaurant. That restaurant's name is Bear Burger. We had only one location back then, but over the next 10 years, I grew up and became a young man into that system. Went from busboy to CMO, Chief Marketing Officer. But it took a decade. But we opened 50 restaurants in 5 countries and we had a absolute blast. Restaurant business is hard, like all businesses, and it raised me. It made me who I am. It made me a fighter. Made me want to punch up. Made me want to help the people that feed the world. That's our mission. And 3 years ago decided to do exactly that, which is uh, I think we can do something about it. I think we can go ahead and be the Shopify of the restaurant industry, or be the online ordering that helps restaurants make so much more money than when the order came in from Grubhub or a third party company. When you order on Grubhub or DoorDash or others, I know they're convenient, but on $100 order, the restaurant makes 5-10 bucks. That's not enough. That's nothing. Imagine I gave you $100 and you were taxed so much you made $5 at the end. You'd be like, what the fuck? I'm moving to Miami or Florida. I want to evade this tax. This is too much. And that is what's happening to restaurants everywhere. And we wanted to do something about it. And the second thing we wanted to do was build incredible apps and website and restaurants that McDonald's and Chipotle has, and build that for everyone. The five off, the one off. We wanted to do that for all restaurants because we think they have a story just as important to tell as Chipotle, or more important, right? The local mom and pops deserve to make a lot of money as well, and deserve to go ahead and speak to their guests directly as well. So that's my story. That's a little bit about me, Bear Burger, growing up, and Lunchbox.
Love it. We saw that you learned English a little bit by watching some movies.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I was wondering if there were any movies in particular that you're just like, this is what helped me like develop my English and like land my first job at Bear Burger, which set up a lot of your journey for you.
It was Scarface. I'm not going to give you a nice movie with a nice message. It was Scarface. It is the most, to me, it is the most entrepreneurial movie in the world. It was Scarface. All right. There was a three-step system on how you find a date in that movie. First you get the money, then you get the power. All right. Either way, the point is, Scarface was a story about a Cuban immigrant who came here and who was trying to make their way up. I don't know this actor at the time, this short-looking guy, Italian guy, and I'm resonating with him a lot. And it was, Al Pacino, and it was Scarface, and there was a sign and there was a balloon that he was looking at, and it said, "The world is yours." And I think that's how big uh, I want to aim, because as an immigrant, it is, I didn't have big dreams. I didn't have a lot of courage. And to watch that movie, I think something clicked for me. You know, I gave myself permission to dream big. I gave myself permission to say it out loud. I gave myself permission to use my language, the language I'm learning, English, not to just be a language that I will use to fit in, but want to go ahead and be an asset, a tool, a weapon, so I can go ahead and get things done. So it was Scarface. And also, it's a fun movie. There's a lot of killing and shooting and drugs. Like, who doesn't like a good action movie? So it was Scarface. I don't have anything more profound than that.
From where we left off in your timeline, you talked about when you decided to start Lunchbox, but there were some blanks there that I wanted to fill in. So, for example, when you went from being a busboy to a CMO, like that leap is crazy. Like, can you just talk to us a little bit about how that came to be? Because it's a huge jump, but it's amazing that you did that.
It's it's it comes from trauma of not being raised well by immigrant parents, because immigrant parents are amazing people, hardworking, but they do, they're not great at raising kids. Like, they're so busy making money, making sure there's food on the table. They are so bad at so many other things. And I don't think, I'm not a blamer. I'm not like, oh, you guys were terrible. I'm like, listen, you brought me to Queens, New York from a shithole in Bangladesh. I'm a happy man. You've given me more than I can ask for. But I think, when you're raised by the parents I was raised and the way I was raised, my dad was a cab driver, mom was a Dunkin' worker, uh, and we grew up with very little. I think working, getting a job as a busboy was, first of all, humbling. Like, it's hard work, so I sympathize with them a lot, right? Because they were doing similar jobs, right? Busboy, cab driver, Dunkin'. These are the same jobs. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it for too long. So I was never enough. I wanted to climb up the ranks, and I wasn't like mission driven. Like, now I really care about restaurants and care about people. I didn't care about anyone when I was 17. I just care about, growing up the ranks and just like making more money and like retiring my family. And that was just a dream. The dream was retire them and not be poor. That was the goal back then. And so I worked my tail off, worked every day, worked 100 hours a week. I hustled. I think there's a lot of talk going on now about not hustling, that hustling is a bad word, or work-life balance, or all of this stuff. To me, I'm not there yet. I'm not evolved enough to get there yet. Hey, I've not seen a recipe for incredible work without putting in a lot of hours, right? Someone has figured out 4-day work week and other things. great. Please keep that to yourself. I can't do that anymore. Do that right now because maybe I'm not good enough or maybe I'm not as evolved. But back then the goal was work and help and add value. The restaurant was needed a busboy, wipe tables, right? The restaurant needed some menu designs. Maybe I'll design some menus, learn from watching videos or something, make some menu edits and design it on Adobe and give it to them. The restaurant needed a social media manager, take some pictures, upload it, do it for free, just give, and then start asking. And that took too long for me. I was weak on that part, asking, but I got better at it. But I did a good job giving, and they did a good job. It was a two-way street. My bosses at Bear Burger did a good job on recognizing the effort, but sometimes when they didn't recognize enough, I struggled to speak up and say, "Hey, I'm doing it. I'm clocking in a lot of different things here, and not for more money." So it was a good education of pull and push, and it was a journey of a decade where hey, I'm leaving if I don't get to be the CMO at 25. But by 25, I got good at asking and giving. You get better at giving and asking. So it was a journey of what does this place need and what can I do? Because I wasn't a designer, I wasn't a marketer, I did not know anything, but I knew that if you put in time and effort and want to help, it will have a return on investment. And I know it now looking back, but back then I just wanted to help and do more, just be part of more.
I love you talking about being part of more and being an advocate for yourself. And I think one of the things that really resonated to me about your story is that just being from Detroit, I'm a first time founder, as well as going to school, all that stuff, right? Just checking things off the list, because when you grow up in a family that's constantly in an active fight to fighting for rights, fighting for making sure, we have food on the table and things like that, your happiness isn't always considered. It's like,
Right.
it's not even on the table, right?
It's not.
So,
It's not. It's a Maslow's
yeah.
pyramid. It's not. Yeah.
Right, at all. It's
Yeah.
not. So no, I just love that you mentioned that, especially being from Detroit. Like, we're very familiar with grit, like
Yeah.
working hard and hustling and making it happen. So I think Lunchbox is just a really great example of that. Like, when we look back on the past 2 years too, you guys have accomplished so much. I mean, at the height of the pandemic, I believe there was around 100,000 restaurants who either temporarily closed and some permanently
Forever.
closed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then
Crazy.
it's insane. And then they had to rely on delivery services, and that cut into their profit margins. Going from there, going to the fees. And like you mentioned, they end up with like what, $5. And it's like, was it even worth it? So I wanted to talk to you and get your thoughts on how Lunchbox is making restaurants more affordable,
Yeah.
excuse me, more profitable, and giving them their power back. Like, how did you guys fill that gap when there was a huge one created by the pandemic?
That's such a great question, and also thank you for sharing your background from Detroit. The natives of Queens and Detroit have a lot in common. So so I'm happy to share that background between us. And in terms of what is Lunchbox uh, doing, the two things we're trying to do is, number one is uh, we want to give you everything uh, these marketplaces like Grubhub has. Let's give you all the tech. Let's give you great app. Let's give you great web. Let's give you all the technology you need for a customer to say, I know Grubhub is more convenient, but this also has all the same tech. Apple Pay, easy checkout, easy check-in. All right, give me all of that. Right? That's a hard job on its own. And then we get to the second part, which is the hard part, which is help restaurants talk to their customers, right? Help restaurants tell their story visually with their design, with their aesthetics, with their UI. Then also help talk to their customers because maybe Isha stopped coming in. Maybe she last time she came in was 2 weeks ago. Something's wrong. Something's off, right? Maybe I wanna dial up the bribery I'm sending her way in a coupon to go ahead and say, yeah, Isha, you gotta come back. All right, maybe Dominique needs to come for lunch. Now it only comes for dinner, right? What do I want to do something about that? Do I want to convert it to be a little bit more of a lunch crew, right? So it's again giving tools, technology, marketing, and engagement tools to go ahead and make it easier for customers to say, hey, not only do they have all the same tech, but they also are talking to me, and this is a restaurant I like, and they're explaining things to me, and they're giving me special menu items, and they are giving me more bonus points. Uh, it's enough of a reason for me to go and support my local restaurants, right? And that's what Lunchbox is trying to do.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Especially with mom and pop stores that or restaurants, excuse me, that I feel like need help with that, driving that human connection, and continuing to make profits in the meantime.
So important because over the last 2 years they've just been hit hard. Um, but over the last 2 years, something else that's happened is that just experiences have been digitized, and so there's the metaverse coming up. And one thing I found very interesting when I was reading about Lunchbox is just that digital experience that you're giving customers, at their favorite restaurants. I would love for you to just like first of all explain that before we hop into it any further. Like, how are you guys working towards an immersive virtual dining experience?
You know, the first thing I want to say about the metaverse is I don't know jack shit about it, right? That's the first thing I want to say. Uh, the second thing I want to say about NFTs and metaverse and VR is where the conversation is right now. To us, is not good enough, right? It's still in like like photos and graphics, and like just like it's still in the arts, right? And I don't think that is utility enough when it comes to what is it we're really trying to do, right? So we wanted to change that at Lunchbox. We wanted to go ahead and push the conversation forward. We wanted to, like all things we do, be irreverent in what we say and feel about how technology should shape the way we dine, right? So that's how we got into the conversation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a quick video. Can I share my screen really quickly? Can I show you a quick video of what we built? I'm going to show you a quick video of what we built. What we did was we built a full-blown restaurant, a restaurant we all have been to, maybe, that you can walk into, walk around, almost like a diner, where you can, look around, you can look at the kitchen, you can look at how the food is made, and you can go up to these kiosks and order food and hang out in the space. And all of us can come and hang out in the space if we bought something from this restaurant, right? So this is what we have built, and we've built this. And what our imagination takes us, where it takes us, is all right. Let's say we, work with McDonald's, and we sell this to McDonald's. There's a McDonald's everywhere, right? There's a McDonald's everywhere. There's one near you, Dominic. There's one near you, Isha. There's one near me. All three of us order food. That means we all get access to this venue, and we all are wearing our VR set, and we're all in that venue, and we're speaking and hanging out in that venue at that table and having this conversation, but a little bit more intimate, right? So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to push the conversation forward, and uh, and sometimes we do a lot of things that's not profitable, but it is also coming from our heart and our soul, and it's a lot of fun for us, which is let's continue to push the conversation forward. So that's how we got into that conversation, and we are looking at it as a voice that will challenge others to come into that space and reimagine it.
And I like the point that you made about just connecting more with people when you're building out something like that. It just gives us an opportunity to like actually sit down, even if it's like in a virtual world, because this new evolution is coming, and it just gives us that extra element of human connection when everything is obviously going online. And that way restaurants can still be supported as well. What has the response to that been when you've like shown that to restaurants and when you've tested it out with people?
We just sold it to Bear Burger. We just sold it. We built it for Bear Burger and sold it to Bear Burger, and now we're working on pushing that in terms of actually making it a reality. So the response has been, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, all right, someone is pushing the envelope. But what I'm really excited by is the phase two of it, which is maybe all of us can order and actually do something. Have a I want Bear Burger to tell their story in the space and tell a little bit more. And how we do that is hard work, but that is the job to be done.
Yeah, I love too that you really started your foundation in business with Bear Burger and like hard work. because they're really innovative. Like when you first started, like looking back 10 years ago, wasn't the menu like 50% vegan? And that wasn't something that was really heard of, especially at a burger place, right?
Yeah, we went 50% vegan 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we first started, we were doing incredible stuff from day one,
Okay.
and we were selling stuff like ostrich and elk and bison.
Ah,
And then,
okay.
by the way, ostrich tastes exactly like beef, Isha, if you've not had it, or Dominique. It looks, tastes
Ah,
exactly like beef, and you'd imagine it's like a chicken because it's a bird. It's
yeah.
not a bird. It's a beast. So
Yeah.
ostriches are mean. Just FYI, if you guys watch some videos, ostriches are mean. Kangaroos and ostrich. Australian animals are just mean people. All right, that's who they are. They're just not nice people. The people are nice, but the animals are not nice. Uh, and then 4 years ago, we decided to go 50% vegan, being one of the first chains to have the impossible first chain to have Beyond when no one else was carrying it, because that's what we believed. We believed of pushing the conversation forward, making us better for it, and I think that's what it does. My fiance is vegan. I hate vegans. She makes me eat vegan food all the time. Uh, so I feel like I'm in the community now, and I've fed a lot of vegans at Bear Burgers. So I can say it, but God, do I hate them? Like they're the worst. Just always like ruining my meals.
Isha can tell you a little bit about.
I'm
Yeah.
right here. I'm vegan also.
I'm not
But
changing.
I do.
I'm not. Yeah, yeah. I have a problem with you. I'll take it with you after the Zoom. You know how much tempeh I'm eating? You know how much tempeh I've been eating? Too much. Too much, Asia.
Hey, I'm starting a company that's trying to prevent heart disease, so I'm happy if you're eating a lot of tempeh. That's great.
I rather drop dead and die than eat any more tempeh. I'm eating tempeh like 3 4 times a week, Asia. Have some mercy.
But it's really awesome that, I mean, you guys are pushing the needle in terms of that, and then also their tech now, with all the stuff you're doing at Lunchbox. So it is really awesome.
I wanted to talk to you about the waves of just technology that we've seen in the restaurant tech industry. Like the first wave was publishing menus online, and
Got it. Yeah.
then we're able to book a restaurant reservation.
Yeah.
We shift from there into now customers can leave Yelp reviews and download a whole app to just look at customer reviews. Now we're into DoorDash and Uber Eats. And I was just wondering, like, since that's I think more automating the human experience. I wondered like how can Lunchbox scale? Like how is it? Is that
I love that
even a
question. Yeah.
thing here? Okay.
I mean, listen. The great companies, for the great companies, is a thing. For the not so
Okay.
great companies, is technology, right? What is technology? But something that is supposed to be a tool. Like we're not important. Like Lunchbox is not as important. We're just the tools, and for the restaurants to use. But then we need to, as restaurateurs, because I'm now putting my restaurant hat on, you know, start being incredible storytellers, start building incredible brands. Like Sweet Green is not a gazillion dollar salad concept because they just sell salad. It's more than that. They have something to say. They have incredible people like Naomi on their roster of people that are supposed to go ahead and teach the youth that salad is can be fun, right? And there's more to food, and that the people you look up to are eating the food that you might not be used to, and you might think it's not accessible, but it is. So I think Sweet Green is telling those stories because that is their, they've taken that role. They're a lifestyle brand, and I don't, and that's rare, and I don't think that has to be rare. And I think with technology, people are compromising and stopping to tell their stories, and I think they have to continue even more so than ever, which is what makes you who you are. If you are a restaurant group, what matters to you. Chipotle's whole thing is free guac, right? Or guac, right? So like more for guac. And now in their app, they sometimes give out free guacs to people, right? So they've taken their in-store experience and this this uh, this cultural thing, the extra guac thing, and they've said we're going to elevate it into our app too, right? Like I don't think that is the greatest example, but it is still better than what most people are doing, which is something. And I think that's what all restaurateurs need to do is try to still continue to tell their stories using the tools accessible available to them. And we're hoping Lunchbox is the tool they use that is can do a whole lot of things for them and continue to tell them. But I put my restaurant hat on, and I think we need to stop, being lazy and try to do a little bit more and continuing to, push the boundaries outside of the four walls, outside of the brick and mortar. We spend a lot of money being amazing within the four walls, and then we like sometimes like cut corners digitally because it's a courier, or it's a delivery, or it's a pickup. And I think I think we're better than that. Yeah.
No, that I think that was a great way to explain it. It's more about using the stories of the restaurant owners to connect with
Yeah.
our human experience. And
Yeah.
I totally relate to the guac thing because I was at Chipotle yesterday.
Yeah.
Chipotle. So I go into Chipotle. I'm so excited. That's my thing. And
Yes.
I'm like, all right, I'm towards the end. I'm getting ready to cash out. And I was like, oh yeah, can you have my guac? And she's like, we're out of guac. And I would have if I would have known that when I got there, I just wouldn't have got a bowl that day. So
That is so funny.
yeah. So
Okay,
that's
so
that's the thing.
when you said out of guac, Isha and my face went into shock. I think that's a good thumbnail for the podcast. I don't know how you guys do your podcast graphics, but we were shocked. It's a cultural thing. It's part of our culture. It's part of the meme culture, right? The guac jokes. So
Yep.
I think it would be just odd for you to not tell that story with your digital stack. And I think Chipotle is doing that. I think we should all learn from that because we all have incredible things we do as restaurateurs. And if we don't do them in our restaurants, it's time to do that too. I'm allergic to avocados, so
Oh
Oh,
no,
that's a
I'm
good
so
clip too.
sorry for you. Look.
Oh
I don't.
my
Let
goodness.
me
It just
let me tell you. I don't even like it. I don't even like it. Yeah, I don't like it. I see my fiance eating avocado toast, and I'm like basic. I look at her, I judge her, and I look at her. She's white, so I do a little judging. I'm like, that's not very flavorful. There's no flavors on that toast. No seasoning, right? I eat Bengali and Indian food. You can't touch my meals. Like your avocado toast, take that. Please keep that away from me. Keep your avocado away from me. So that's my attitude towards her eating habit.
yeah, I was like, this just keeps getting more and more sad. Like, Dom didn't get her guac at the end of the day, and you're allergic to avocados. I mean, it's like really a disaster up in here. But one day I saw you tweet, I think it was recently, about all of the different levels of communication that you have to master as a leader. So, like internal, external, all of that. And recently you successfully raised your Series B round. So, I mean, I know people talk about funding all the time, and it really is like just the beginning, right? Like, you have to make that funding go somewhere and you have to do something with it. And it's like the beginning of like the whatever the next phase of your company is, hiring and whatnot. But, I want to talk about how a huge part of good conversation is storytelling. And so I was wondering I'm wondering if you have any wisdom to give our listeners on how to sell your story to investors when you're preparing to raise a round, and especially a sizable round, like the one that you just closed.
Yeah, we just raised 50 million for our Series B, and we have incredible investors, supportive investors, who allow me to be myself. I get to be myself with them, and I worked hard. I really worked hard to figure out who I am, like my entire life, and I'm really trying. And I actually like who I am, right? Like first you have to figure out who you are, and second you're like, oh, do you like it? Don't like it? I actually like it. I don't hate it. I don't hate myself. And then the third thing is, are you brave enough to be that? You adjust a little bit. You're at a funeral, you adjust it. You can't be the same everywhere. You adjust it for a funeral, you adjust a little bit for investor. You adjust it, you tweak it a little bit. You tweak 20%. If you're tweaking 80%, something's off. But you tweak a little bit of who you are. Uh, and I think that third part is, that being true to yourself is so hard. I'm so afraid sometimes to be myself with investors because I'm like, oh, they're not going to give me money if they find out what I really think. So I have this, incredible battle between be who I am, be who they want me to be, and be what I need to be. And it's just like constantly just playing hopscotch, and I'm exhausted. So I've decided and worked hard to just be myself. Like just be myself. So I have more energy. I can work longer. I can be less phony. I can just go on more and more and more. Part of being leaders and who we are is stamina. we don't talk about stamina enough, but this is a marathon and a sprint, and we need stamina. We need to keep going, right? We need stamina. If I don't see people with great stamina, I know they're not ready for leadership, because leadership is all about stamina. How long can you keep going, right? So uh, being yourself helps you with that. So with these investors, we've worked incredibly hard. Number one, to be who we are, present ourselves, so we can find partners who choose us as well. It's like a great relationship. It's like me with my fiance. You don't wanna. I don't know why people pretend to be someone else. You need to be yourself if you're looking for a long-term partner, because you need the other side to opt in and say, this is I want to buy this. I'm opting into this. So same thing with investors, same thing with employees, same thing with employers. Just be yourself, and hopefully don't be a terrible person, and you'll find like-minded people to come join the tent, and that's what we have done. And then second, we have we've grown a lot. We're also successful. Like, they investors also want to make money, right? We want them to make money. We want us to make money. We want our employees, everyone to be happy. So we work in, we're driving really hard to grow, really hard to go ahead and do M&As, do incredible go-to-market, reinvent our strategy, reiterate, throw things at a wall and test, and run a great company and grow, grow, grow. Because the more we grow, the more we raise, the more restaurants we help, the more restaurants we help, the more we grow, and it is a flywheel. So it's a two-part thing to go talk to investors, which is have incredible numbers, have incredible vision, have incredible growth, and sometimes you don't need all three of them, right? You need some of them. Sometimes you need incredible vision, especially in the early stage. But either way, be a great company and be yourself, and like-minded investors will come to you. And it's like sales. It's exactly like sales. So you talk to a lot of investors, and a lot of rejections come to you, and you like your product, you will be better because of those rejections. Like your product, you will make iterations based on those feedback. What you cannot do is listen to all feedback, right? You can't listen to all feedback. You know, investors sometimes just have to say no. Sometimes they just don't vibe with you. Sometimes they don't get it. Sometimes they just. But either way, they have to say no. And you can't just say no. You have to say intelligent no's. So they will say, it's because one, two, three, right? But you have to pattern match. You have to look at what you're hearing a lot, and you have to go ahead and take that data and make improvements there. But you can't listen to all feedback in anything you do. So that's a little bit of how fundraising has been always, and I love fundraising. It's fun. It makes us a better company. It makes us more diligent. It makes us more buttoned up, and it's a lot of fun. But it's a lot of rejection. So it's sucky, because you stop believing in yourself. You start putting voices in your head, and you start saying like, "Oh man, it's really hard." So it's a roller coaster.
I think you're actually the first person, and I appreciate that you did this. The first person that, like, when we've asked them about fundraising on the podcast, or even about communication, you went a step back before you went into that and talked about, first you need to be coming from an authentic place, so that you can then build authentic relationships with your investors. I don't think that has ever been talked about in our episodes, Dom. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
No, you're
yeah.
right. I was over here just writing down a few things, and I was like, man, that journey to self acceptance is rough, because it's really you being fearless enough to say, you know what, I do recognize these things in myself. They may not be great, right? It's not the stuff people are talking about in magazine articles, but damn it, I'm brave enough to look myself in the mirror and say, you know what, this is me, and I accept myself. And I think that's a really, really hard thing to do. But once you've overcame that and you've gotten over that hump, I feel like you get an inner confidence of, like, saying, when you go in there and you hear that negative feedback, you can walk out and still say, you know what, I'm okay with that, because yeah, it's just not aligned at this time. But when it
Yeah,
is in alignment, it's gonna be right, and they'll get it. And that will be my tribe and my people. So that was I did. I really appreciated you just talking about that, because um I know it resonated with me, feeling like I had a lot of pressure in my family to be successful in what they
hmm,
thought, and I just wasn't happy, and I never experienced an unhappiness like that.
yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. And it's easy for me to talk about it because I'm going through it now, which is I do a very good job in trying to be myself, but even I struggle. For the last year, internally in my company, I became someone I was not. For my employees, for my leaders, for others, I became, the pressure of there's a pressure of the job, right? We have 200 people now. It's a lot of pressure. Um, it's a heavy responsibility, you know. And it and you I became, remember I talked about that 80/20 tweaking. More, I was tweaking more than 20%, because seasoned people are in the room, seasoned executives, they get paid a lot of money, a lot of people, a lot of employees in the company, a lot of people saying, do this, do this, do this, you know. And like all feedback, uh, I was over indexing and not listening to, remember the investor feedback, not listening to pattern, listening to uh, silent but loud minority, silent, but sorry, not silent, a loud few. I was listening to loud few people. And just 10 days ago, I said, I'm fucking tired of this shit. I'm done. This company is, valued over $300 million right now. It was valued as zero. And I had something to do with it. So I need to believe and listen to myself and, my heart. I need to also invite people in and look at parent matching, because everyone is going to give the CEO feedback all day long, 24/7, all day, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed. All I'm hearing from people are feedback. But I have to listen to the ones that are going to help us impact. And I know what is best for the business, and I need to believe in myself. So, the voice, Dominic, you mentioned, which is, you know, uh, the pressure of being successful. What it does is it makes you feel like you're never good enough, but you are, right? The last 3 years we did incredible work, and so you and me and we need to document our wins, small and big, and look at that portfolio or that folder, and wake the fuck up and say, we got this, and just reiterate and keep going.
Absolutely. And another thing that you touched on is just the loneliness, right, of being a founder and being with that pressure. So how do you take care of yourself? Like, is it walks? Is it that you meditate? Like, what are some things that have really helped you along the way?
I am a machine, I tell you. I have this app called Habit. The Habit app, and I do habits every day. I have habits every day. I'll tell you what I do. I do sauna 3 times a week. I heard it decreases the chances of heart attacks. I clean my text, train my dogs, eat healthy. I'm looking at you, Isha. I eat healthy reluctantly. Take vitamins, work out, meditation or yoga. Do Relish. Relish is a relationship app between you and your partner, and you guys, like, it ask you questions, like how many kids will you have, or how do you think about money and things like that. So it prepares you for marriage, because America's so good at marriage. Haha. Do something special with your boo. Call family. Visualize. Journal. Learn via podcast or book. That is my list of daily habits. I use those things every day to stay grounded. So that this is my main home screen. This is all my wellness app, and the one I use the most is a Future. It's a virtual coach. I use that, and I measure my sleep, and my sleep tells me if I'm snoring or not, or how healthy or not healthy it is. If you guys want me to play one of my snoring, I can do that. And then this is my finance apps. That's it. Yeah. I use technology and tools to stay focused and take care of myself. But yeah, I am. The startup journey is chaos, and it is a shit show. And I try to put as much systems and balance and frameworks I can to manage my life, because if it's a shit sandwich, all I can do is make sure the morning and the nights are balanced, and everything in between, is ups and downs, and it's a little bit of also dealing with the daily ambiguities of the job, right? I hear average 1 to 3 bad news a day, right? So it's just dealing with them, dealing with the regular, program
Yeah.
scheduling program. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, it's real, especially because the shit show is like things are gonna happen. It's just about how you can manage it. Just understand that some things like you just won't be able to control. And I read about you. mentioning that you are a left side of the brain type of person. And I thought you had a really cool concept about forgiveness and forgiving yourself. And I was just wondering if you could share that because that was really helpful to me when I read.
I don't know what I said, but let me tell you what I'll say now, and you can correct me if it's similar. Um, I don't know what I say half the time. It's just word vomit. It's just I'm laying it out. I'm just blah 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 blah. It's about earlier, which is be true to yourself. And uh, when you do pick the profession the three of us have picked, we have picked a unforgiving life, a life of trial and error, a life of zigging and zagging, a life of do 100 things, and if five works, you should be happy. And so what that means is we've picked a hard life. We've not picked a 9 to 5. We've not picked a job at a big company. We can have that tomorrow. We picked a tough life. We picked this journey, which means we're going to make mistakes. And if we're going to make a lot of mistakes, don't we have to be really good at forgiving ourselves, right? If I was, Dominique, you look like a tennis player, right? You look like a famous tennis player, Serena Williams. If you're Serena Williams and you're playing tennis all day long, don't you have to be really good at recovery, physical recovery, right? What are we doing? We're playing this mental game of trial and error and rejection and ups and downs. So don't we have to be really, really good at forgiving ourselves? Sometimes I'm up at night, 12 at night in my bed, thinking about something I said or did that was dumb or a mistake I made that I shouldn't have. And you just gotta you gotta learn from it and be better, right? Is that 80-20 rule? Make 20% incremental improvements, but you have to forgive yourself because we're all trying to build, legacy businesses that will outlast our own names and lives. And that means we're at the beginning of our journey, and we're always at the beginning of a journey, and just have to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
So I forgive myself because I make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. No, I think that's a huge lesson for early stage founders who are more established and hell, just people in general, and we even talk about getting when we have guests on the podcast, like how we just appreciate them being genuine and honest about their experience because we both call each other when we make mistakes or we're talking about it and we can't sleep. There's so many things like that. So I was just curious about your purpose. You're really big on alignment, right? Providing voices for people who can be perceived as voiceless, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is part of how you grew up and how you understand it and being a kid from Queens and hustling and making it work over 10 years, right? To
Mm-hmm.
then becoming a C-suite level employee. Like what is purpose to you? Do you feel like you're walking in it?
I have a couple of different purpose. Um, I admire the people who are good at so many different things. Like they don't do one thing; they're good at. You know, my heroes are good at being great at home and being great at work and being great with their kids and being great at on the field and being great off the field, being great at investing. Like I love those people. Um, I think those are the people I am inspired by. So I think so I have different purposes for different areas in life. My work purpose is helping restaurateurs everywhere, and so they can go ahead and uh, build sustainable businesses on their own without big tech killing them. My purpose at work is making sure we all have a united mission and we all are also fulfilling our dreams. I have a lot of employees with a lot of dreams. I want to make sure they are hitting those goals. They're buying that home. They are taking care of themselves. They have time for their kids. They can log off when they need to. They can log on a Saturday because they had to log off on Wednesday because their mom was in town. So that's my work purpose. My personal purpose is to uh, figure out to invest enough in myself, my mental health, via therapy, via relationship counsel, to stop generational trauma of what I grew up. So those are the three things I'm very focused on. And one more personally is to also uh, stop eating so much vegan food. Like that's a big purpose of mine. So those are a couple of things I think about as I navigate life. And and I love the context switching.
Yeah, I absolutely. And I think another thing that I think you're really great at, and just from what I'm seeing in this space, is that you have an ability to make others comfortable and provide a space, whether that be space and a platform in the business landscape, right? Of, hey, this is a marketplace for you to drive your brand and increase awareness. But even just being on a call like this, right, where and could be in different investor spaces, people could all be thinking what you're thinking, but you have an ability to be genuine and share exactly what you're thinking. I think that makes other people feel more comfortable, but most importantly, it makes it okay for them to be themselves as well in those spaces that have traditionally may not have been as welcoming or just comfortable for them to be themselves. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. So no, I appreciate it because it's very easy to talk to you where sometimes we're a bit nervous when we have folks coming on, but it's just nice for us to be ourselves where we can just talk to you and kick it, right? And just see how you're feeling about some things. So yeah.
Absolutely. I was where you guys are a week ago, so it's we are days apart in our journey. So it's easier when you see, brown people, people that look like you, and people that maybe sound like you, or people that understand that happiness was never on the table, like you mentioned earlier. It was like, what is that? Like, what is yoga? What is wellness? What is vitamins, right? Those are all like on the top of the pyramid, right? So when you meet those people who are like, we're in the same universe, it's easier to connect because we have more in common than not.
It's crazy that you mentioned like you were in the same place as we're sort of talking about where we are right now, because I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, which is that like yeah, like a week ago I was having this like whole problem where I was like I literally cannot fall asleep because I keep thinking about something I did a week ago or something I said to my team in a meeting that was like me trying to like, push this like specific like private beta thing that we have going forward. And I'm like, "Oh, like could I have said it a different way?" And I was like getting all up in my head and to the point where I just like couldn't sleep and it wasn't even that big a deal. And like fast forward to this week, I'm in a very different space where I'm like, I think I can put that aside now, where I just have to let go of it and I have to not think about, the
Yeah.
thing that I said a week ago that, wasn't even me coming across with a bad intention or me sounding mean or anything like that. So it's really interesting how quickly growth happens on the founder journey and how literally you can feel like you're a completely different person just from what you were a week ago.
Yeah. All you have to realize is there's not a playbook to be a founder. No one wrote a, playbooks are, and also maybe there is, playbooks are written after something works. So everyone who's writing their books, they're writing it after. And guess what? They're telling a bit more beautiful story than the one that was in reality, right? It's just, we wake up, look at the challenges ahead of us, we look at the mountain and we climb. It's easy to write that story after you climbed it, but let's be honest. We look at the mountain and we're like, what the fuck, right? How do we deal with it? There's no secret sauce. Like, there's no difference between a good founder or a bad founder. There's only winning and not winning, and I think that is what is the most important lesson here, which is your job is to be a mission focused company that makes the mission successful, and that is, and in the process you will grow, you'll be better. Hopefully, and I think most founders work on themselves. I think most founders, are very critical, self-critical. That's what you're describing, Isha. Um, and I think it's helpful. I don't think there's anything wrong with you replaying that moment and being better. I think that is fine. I think then you have to move on very quickly because tomorrow is a new day. And I think so. I think you're going through a very normal experience, and I think that's why you are the founder, because you are reevaluating something you said a week ago. I've reevaluated stuff I've said a year ago, right? And I still do it. I'm talking a big game here, but I'm still working on forgiving myself. It's a full-time job I have to do. So. Um, so I think this is what makes us who we are. This is the DNA of a founder. So I think I think knowing that is enough, and knowing that no one who made it had a better idea than we do is also enough. No one who made it knows anything more than we do. There's no secret sauce. It's hard work. It's wake up every day and it's do that work. And so I think we're just going through the motion.
I agree. And I think that actually is like a perfect transition into something else that I wanted to ask you. You talked about regularly, forgiving yourself. We talked just now about, letting things go, moving on, and just putting in the work. I wanted to ask you if there are any specific things, like examples that you can give us of things that you've let go in, like, for example, the past few months where you've looked up and been like, okay, this taught me a good lesson. I'm going to choose to forgive myself and let it go.
I do this thing on Sunday. I do this thing. Let me pull up my calendar, okay? Let me pull up my calendar. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. I'm gonna pull up my calendar. This is what my calendar looks like, right? But let me show you the 7 days. I do this thing on the weekend on Sundays called a weekly energy review. And I look at energy, what gave me energy, what drained my energy, what should I have said no to, what could have been delegated. And the third one is, the first one is what gave me energy. Um, this is basically my way of reflecting on the week. And this is my way of also looking what is draining my energy. And most of my energy is drained by me. I drain all my energy. I am the biggest critic of myself. It's not employee X or employee Y or C-suite X or C-suite Y. So I do energy draining activity to see what is draining my energy, and then I ask myself two questions: do I want to be better at this activity, this object, or this whatever is causing this, or do I want to delegate this? And I've noticed that I want to start delegating a lot of things that drain my energy, and I want to keep, like, again, 20% because I want to be good at it, because I'm competitive and I'm selfish and I want to fucking lean in and win. But 80% of it is just someone else's problem, and I'm going to give that to them, because it's not my job to be great at everything. It's my job to be me and be good at the things I'm really good at that no one can touch me on. But it's not my job to be good at everything. And it is so hard for us as founders to realize that it's not our job to be good at everything. It's not our job to know better than X and Y and so many different categories. Our job is to push pace and make sure the vision comes true, and the best people to do it. And so I use that weekly draining activity to check, where am I being extra critical of myself, because maybe it's time to hand that off, or maybe it's time to get some coaching on it. Either way, an action item is needed to be had there.
I saved that little box. I need to like implement that into my weekly practice because that's really good.
And again,
Um,
I'm talking a big game here today, but I skipped that review many weeks, right? So again, I don't want to come off. I don't want to come off. What I really don't want to do is come off impressive during this podcast and have you guys leave the meeting be like, wow, like that's the kind of people who make it, and I am being so bad at so many different things, and I need to be better at all of those things. Do not do that. I promise you're doing that. Don't fucking do it, because I know I do it. I do it all the time. Every time I see someone impressive on stage, I do it. I promise you, I'm talking a big game, but I do the things I'm telling you, I do it half the time. And you know what? It's half as good as I want it to be. So I'm fine. So just want to do a disclaimer, everyone.
Again, it's like the self-critical sides of us. I think we
Yeah.
definitely end up doing that a lot, especially when we talk to other people who are like ahead of us on their journeys, like
You just compare.
scaling.
You compare so
Yeah, you
much.
compare. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. You've taken a lot of time to develop your self-awareness practice. You try your best to do it regularly, but you've been super real about, it's okay. Like it's the best thing you can do is like try your best to get that in and really make sure that you reflect. And speaking of reflection, I wanted to ask you if you had to look back and give younger Nabeel advice just at points throughout your life, what are the top, you can pick like three things maybe, you would choose to tell him if you had that opportunity?
Um, I will answer the question. I will not answer the question. I have no advice for younger self. He did the best he could. He did better than I thought he would. He had a lot of help, and also he didn't have a lot of help. He had a lot of things not working for him. He had, he grew up in an environment where you're not supposed to make it out, right? So yeah, I can't do that because I gotta love that version because that version brought me here. Yeah, I get choked up because I get choked up because it's good. This is good. This is good enough for now. Like if I retire today, this is more than I dreamed of. But today I have much more dreams than before. So no advice for younger Nabil.
The first thought I got when you said that was that you don't have advice for yourself now. It's kind of almost like sometimes it's almost like a betrayal on our younger self, right? They got us where we're here if we would have changed some things. So that was good. That was an enlightening moment for myself as far as reflecting back. So as we think about moving forward and reflecting as to what's to come in restaurant tech industry, I learned so much through studying you and in preparing for this that I didn't know I was a part of these different waves of technology in the restaurant industry, right?
Yeah,
So what's next for you and Lunchbox? Just future plans of moving forward. What does that look like for you?
I think we're gonna move to becoming more like an incubator than just building everything ourselves. The last 3 months of the market, public market, going where it has headed, which is down, has been a wake up call for the investment community that we are not going to throw dumb money at everything. And the last couple of months have been a wake up call for some founders, which is some founders are we're still going to raise, and some founders like maybe we team up, and we want to team up with some food tech companies that are in their journey who want out to say, come join us. We will help you. We'll teach you what we know. We will let you do what you do best, and we will continue to be the one-stop shop for restaurants everywhere. So that's become a strategy that is emerging in the last couple of weeks in my head, and that is becoming slowly more and more real.
Our audience is from different stages right here as we wrap up. Um, how can another kid from Queens, Detroit, wherever, create a network or community of folks to help him, he or she, get to where maybe raising Series B? And I know it's a huge question. So
Yeah.
I asked, let's think about just hiring their first employee. Are they would you recommend looking at a place like Fiverr where you can contract work
Yeah.
out? Would you recommend them just cranking out the hard work, working on things? Like
Yeah.
what would you suggest?
First, we need to acknowledge that the folks from Detroit or Queens are not in the same playing field as other people, right? Like they're just at a disadvantage. That's just the reality of it. We are at a disadvantage. We are behind. If it was the same race, we're a little bit more behind, and we have to be extra exceptional, right? Dominique, you have to be better. Uh, you have to be twice as good because you're a black woman than someone else. I have to be twice as good because I'm a brown man, right? Isha, as a female founder, you have to be twice as good. The reality is we just have to be twice as good as the same person next to us. We can be upset about it or accept it, which is the fact is that we just have to be twice as good. So until the world is a better place, and I'm not trying to fix it tomorrow, we just have to be twice as good. That sucks. Or we accept and we say we just have to go ahead and be twice as good.
There's a NFL player that I was reading about a few years ago, and it's like his motto is it's just about no one cares, work harder. So
Yeah. Yeah.
right, and it sounds insensitive, but I think to your point of working twice as hard, it's like no, the progress is in the work. So putting the time in and just doing the best that you can by working hard is, I feel like that's the secret sauce. That's the hard work. It's not a secret to it. So
It's not a secret. And not only is
yeah,
it not a secret, after we learn that secret, we have to realize that we have to put in the same work, but twice as much. So it's
yeah,
worse than being a secret that we need to accept. Is after we found the secret, it's rigged against us. We have to do it twice as hard is what and sometimes some people 3 times as hard. So I think that's the first thing that needs to happen, which is the acceptance that this is going to be a tough journey. And the second one is, have the mentality of improving the room you're in again and again and again and again and forever. Uh, I'm in different chat rooms now, or WhatsApp groups with founders that are much more smarter than me, that I'm nervous in, that I'm taking notes in, like you are, Dominique, right? I'm in those rooms. I'm putting myself in those rooms again and again and again. And it's just like constantly scary because I have like people who are in public, I have public CEOs that I get nervous around, and I don't know, I forget about, I lose my confidence around. So but it's being in those situations again and again, because that's where you're learning. It's hard. If it's hard, you're wearing and tearing, you're growing, right? And so I think doing that is something that is really, really helpful, and just doing that forever. And it's beautiful because people who are successful want to give back. They want to send the elevator back down. They will take that call reluctantly, and it's hard. It's not their job to take it. Like, it's your job to reach out to 100 and for 2 to say yes, right? But I think that's the kids from Queens and other places. Your job is to just be twice as good. Know that it's unfair, but move on from it. It's not gonna get fixed tomorrow. All right, don't worry about it, but and reach out and put yourselves out there and be in scary rooms. And guess what? You will make it out of Queens. By the way, I still live in Queens. You'll make it out of Queens mentally. You'll make it out of those places, and you will still have to do that forever. And that's growth mindset, and that's just something we as founders do, which is have a peer group we learn from, give back to the people behind us, and learn from the people ahead of us. And I think that's the first thing to do, is put yourself out there and ask and LinkedIn people and message people and ask them if you can learn from them, shadow them, do free internship. Don't I see on LinkedIn posts like, do not work for free. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Stop it. I'm like, stop it. You are privileged, sir. You have no idea what it's like in real life. Free internship, and you get to learn from someone much smarter than you. Like, are you kidding me? So I think reality is, you just have to work hard and throw everything out there and see what sticks and put yourself out there. And then that becomes a lifestyle. And then one day you become vegan, and, that's, and you've made it.